Hey, it's Scott Radigan here, and I've got the one tool that you need to grow your practice to 7 figures in 3 days. Um, Obviously, that's a little bit of some hyperbole, and I do have a special tool to recommend for you, and it's absolutely free. It can make you wealthy, or it can bring you peace of mind, and it can make sure that your business is healthy and that your life is happy. And it's this: your brain and your gut. So I guess that's two tools, but you already have the power to do all the things that you need to do. I was talking to some providers recently, and it's a common thing, not just for providers, but for entrepreneurs to get distracted by the shiny new tool or this little software widget here, and think that if I just sign up for this, some of the problems will go away, or I'll have more money or more time. And they're doing a good job marketing their tools, but you don't need them all. There's a huge myth that all of these people are putting out there, and it's easy to get not suckered in, but to get distracted because you're doing work the right way, doing it in a professional manner, and building something that has a solid foundation is hard work. It's monotonous. It's not fun to do a lot of times. And so this entrepreneur's dilemma is we get distracted by shiny object syndrome, or we think, man, there's got to be an easier way. In a lot of cases, there are ways to make things speed up. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you go to create something new. But for the most part, it's success in life, business, wherever, but particularly in business, is just doing the little things each day until you see results. Maybe not for a day, maybe not for a week or a month or 6 months, but they will compound on each other and you will see the results. Now, what can happen if you do this in an incorrect way? So if you are out there just trying to either copy or imitate or mimic what others are doing, a couple things can happen. One is it's not going to be authentic to you. So while you can figure it out, it may not be how you would create it if you were given the chance to just kind of sit down and create it from scratch. The second thing is that you might get discouraged because their success didn't come overnight either. They spent months, years, and more building that. So if you look at that and you are not at that level yet, you haven't spent a year building it, then you might get discouraged, dejected, and not start that project at all. And the third thing that can happen is if you look at person one and they're successful and they're doing these great things, but you get dejected because you're not at their level. And then number two, they're doing something slightly different and they're having success, and that's great too. You might get overwhelmed and try to do all three at once, and none of that is a recipe for success. As Ron Swanson, a character on the TV show Parks and Recreation, likes to say, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. And sorry for the little bit of French there, but it's a direct quote from a show that was on in primetime network TV, so I think we're okay. But the point remains, do one thing really well, build a solid foundation, and it's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be 1 week from now. It will take a little bit of time. And the tool that you need, the only tool that you need is your brain, your gut, and doing the right thing and doing it well, doing it professionally, getting a CPA, getting a bookkeeper, talking to an attorney, maybe talking to a coach, a business coach. But doing things the correct way from the beginning will make you feel better and make sure that once you kind of build that foundation and things start to snowball or compound, that you'll be ready for the challenge, you'll be ready for it. Otherwise, if you're kind of all over the place and not acting like a professional, you won't be ready once the flood of patients hits. So be a good provider, which will lead to word of mouth and referrals and having lots of success that way, which can reduce any requirements for you to spend money on Facebook ads or building an email list, which are good things, but you don't need them right away. And you may not need them ever, depending on what your goals are. So trust your gut and only build what you want to build. Don't get discouraged by the successes of others. And figure out what it is you want to build, work hard at it, understand it won't take a day, and then eventually success will come. And that'll be the best kind of success, because it's something that you built for yourself. Not what a lot of people talk about is where you build a house that you don't want to live in, because you are building your practice based on what you think the people in your area might want, or what you think the people in your area can afford, right? There's a couple famous quotes around that. Most famously, Henry Ford said, if I asked the people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Now, cars were around before Henry Ford, but the point is, it's not necessarily about what people say they want. Although that is important, you got to have customers or clients or patients, but it's also as important to build what you are good at and what you enjoy doing. And just one last thing I'll leave you on before I wrap up my soapbox and take it with me is a quote about persistence, even when it's not looking like there's a lot of results, at least tangible results. So it's called the Stonecutter's Credo. And it says, it's a quote by Jacob Riis. He says, when nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times, without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two. And I know it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before. And that's from Jacob Riis. And so similarly, I mean, we used to have quotes before our basketball practices in college. And one that's always stuck with me is attributed to Abraham Lincoln, but who knows, right? So he said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 7 hours sharpening my axe. Knowing that there's a lot of behind the scenes work that doesn't get noticed, maybe don't have tangible benefits right away. But once you get towards the end of all of that work, it all pays off in the end. And those 7 hours make that last hour, the actual act of chopping down the tree, worth it and valuable. So trust your own gut. There are some tools that you need, but you don't need many. Stay on course, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks.